Hey, Shalom Akim, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kakadash, Barakatam, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of great and strong wells, but I'm Nasha, DC Camp, short lesson for the hopeful elect, the country of Bolivia, tribe of Asher over there in South America. Oh boy, man, they have to deal with Esau's interference. It's not easy being an Israelite. They just leave it at that, man. Wherever you go, the vagabond, will always be there to try to turn your life upside down, man. Our people has been dealing with oppression, for centuries, and it's just horrible. Over 400 years, man. From the 15th century up to now, we still have to deal with this level of disturbance from Esau. He just wouldn't let you know Jake live in peace. He just won't. Jake in Africa, the southern kingdom, they can't get no rest because of Esau. Jake over here, northern kingdom, they can't get no rest because of Esau. So you just have to wonder, what's the problem? What does Esau really want? And you begin to question, what are his motives? Why is he so desperate to come after our people? That's why, the book of Psalms, chapter 17 and 13, it never disappears from your mind. It never disappears from your mind. It says, "Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword." So that's what we're praying. The Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua Ba'ashim Kakadash, here's our prayer, Psalm 17 and 13. "Arise, O Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua Ba'ashim Kakadash, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword." And that's a problem. We have to constantly beg the Lord to help us overcome, man. This Edomite man, is not stopping, man. He just wants to have our people integrated into his system of rulership, man. You have the indigenous people over there in Bolivia. They fight so hard. They're very organized when it comes to grassroots uh, development, grassroots, what you call it, structure, to have their concerns heard, to have their concerns attended to. It just makes you wonder, what it's like to live among them. I've spent some time among Asher, for for weeks. So it's just a different mindset. They're not as as troublesome. But at the end of the day, man, when our people begin to form an alliance with Edom, it becomes chaos. That's why there's so much chaos. That's why so many Jakes have lost their lives due to oppression. All these dictators, man, they just grind the people down, and people just disappear, and they get executed. They just get to be held behind bars for, for what you call indefinite detention. Some perish, Some have their mind snapped and all that stuff. And then, you have to pick up the pieces. Students go missing. It's horrible. And, the fingerprints of Esau's all over it. There's a time when I was still very early, in my early 20s or so, when I was checking out this report about how, the privatization of water access in Bolivia. And then you had this company called Bechtel, a foreign company managing the public utility over there in Bolivia, that the people had to rise up and deal with that situation, because when our people start accepting all these loans and programs from the IMF/World Bank, the economic hitmen always show themselves, and that's just the problem with our people. And they've been attached, to this system of economic hitmen. This ball and chain ideology is causing our people so much harm and pain and distress, and it's just disheartening.
Firecrackers and tear gas filled the streets of the Bolivian capital, La Paz, where miners marched, demanding that President Rodrigo Paz resign. Soldiers stood guard outside the government palace, barricading nearby streets. The protests in Bolivia have grown bigger over the last 2 weeks. Teachers, indigenous groups, transport unions, farmers and others have been turning out with varied demands, from higher wages and end to proposed privatizations to cheaper fuel. On Sunday, police cleared.
Yeah, so when you dig more into the report, these subsidies that they receive for oil is what helps the people get by. But when the government started listening to all these foreign organizations like the IMF and World Bank, they want them to get rid of all these subsidies as condition of receiving aid, international aid. So when the people don't want to have it, this is what happens, and they demand the resignation of the president, move forth therewith. And one of the previous presidents, Evo Morales, he's he's under pressure, man. Because of all these exertion of Babylon's arm, Babylon's overreach, having an indictment. Yeah, so that's what they do. If they want to have control of a country, they have to bring forth all types of indictments against the people that they deem as obstacles to their new world order. So this is just a challenge. When our people begin to stand up against the new world order, this is what you see on the street. And you just have to deal with it, man. And then you have the situation over there in Honduras, where the former president was talking about the alliance between him, and the Amalekites in Argentina. The president of Argentina, what's his name? Milei. And then United States. What they plan to do is, purge, come up with an operation to purge the country of obstacles, man, in these other political parties. So they talk about Colombia and and Mexico. So that's just what they do. You have to create chaos. You had it on a recording, so you can imagine how much is out there that has to be put into motion because this elites, man, of Amalek, they want to use the Northern Kingdom as a staging ground, in these last days, man, for their NWO. They're looking for places where they can set up roots, just like what they've been doing in Argentina and Chile, and also in Brazil. When you hear about those fires in the Amazon, they have their hands in it too. You know, the fires in Argentina and Chile. It's a problem. They want Patagonia so bad. They want to set up roots, and people keep talking about these Amalekites, man, that have ties with the IDF. They always in the midst of the problem of the people, man. So it just makes you wonder, that there's something else going on. And when you look at El Salvador, same thing too. Amalek got his hands all up in El Salvador, man. So it's just how it is. It's only by the grace of the Lord that we're gonna survive this attack, man. Because our people are catching so much hell, man. So I get another precept from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and 33. It says, "Thus said the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go." So that's the reason why we need the Lord of Mashiach Yahushua, because Amalek, man, is just interfering with our development, man. Even in Africa over there, he had the president of France doing his so-called tour slash conference over there. You know, he just wants to hold on to the Southern Kingdom, man. That's just the problem. You hear about all these terrorists over there in the Sahel. All these chaos. And all these mercenaries over there causing problems. For the Southern Kingdom of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So it's a painful experience. To fight to survive when the opportunity for peace is always there. But when you have Esau in the midst of it, it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem. That's the reason why, you don't want to have a miscalculation, you know, of your, let me say, of your intentions, man. Just let the Lord take care of it for you. That's part of it. That's part of your opportunity, for salvation. Salvation is a gift from the Lord that you have to learn. That it's a divine provision that you can never ignore, man. You want to be delivered from the chaos of Babylon. This is what we have to deal with, man. Yeah, this is what we have to deal with on a regular basis, man. It's painful. It kind of makes you want to cry, but you have to deal with it. You have to deal with it on a daily basis, man. So that's the reason why we need these words. to comfort our soul, because Esau's attack is overwhelming. Amos 1:11, thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai Bashim Kakadash, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. So it's what we have to deal with on a constant basis, man. The attack on our daily lives, man, on our health, everything, every attack can always be linked back to Edom. These Amalekites that like to, claim to be Jewish and all that stuff. They always like to play that role of him who must not be named. Yeah, so that's just the irony of of Edom's existence. You know, that's why we have to trust in the Lord. To get us out of Babylon, and because it's just too much. Yeah, it's too much. Lamentation 4:17. As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. Yeah, the whole island of Cuba is in a mess. Haiti is in a mess. Venezuela is in a mess. Mali, mess. Burkina Faso, mess. And then you talk about Uganda, talk about the Congo. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. The whole nation is a mess. Mexico is a mess. It's just by the grace of the Lord, man, that we're still here, man. It's by the Lord's promises that we're still here. Yeah, it's by the Lord's mercy that we're still here.
Some of the highways which demonstrators had blocked. There was violence. The president's spokesman blamed the protesters.
No hay por qué agredir a inocentes.
There is no reason to attack the people. There is no reason to use weapons. There is no reason to call for that level of confrontation, which is undesirable. I repeat, anyone who carries weapons, dynamite, or any other device that can harm the integrity of another person is committing a crime.
But the country's vice president, who has been publicly at odds with the president himself, blamed the security forces for using excessive force.
Se ha disparado.
Shots were fired at the demonstrators, yet members of the Bolivian police and the armed forces know that it's banned to fire at close range. As a result, one person lost an eye.
Rodrigo Paz can add the rift within his government to his list of problems. He won the elections just 6 months ago, but was dealt a weak hand from the start. Falling natural gas exports, fuel shortages, and a lack of foreign currency and investment. Bolivia's been heading for years to economic crisis. The president had promised to deal with that crisis through market-friendly measures and austerity. But now his own political future is on the line. John Holman, Al Jazeera.
Yeah, so that's a pain. That's a pain we have to deal with, man, on a daily basis. And that protest is just a sign of things to come. Things are going to blow over, because our people, they have a strong will when they see that they don't want to be part of Esau's system. They're willing to go that mile because our people are not strangers to fatalities. And, they're going to do exactly what they got to do, in their own land, because oppression, it's no joke, man. That's why when you read the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 7, it says, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, And that's why you have this protest, man. Wisdom is not going to allow you to just sit down there with your hands quiet, man. It's going to push you into a place of resistance. It's going to push you in a place of discomfort where you have to protect yourself against the psychological attacks, against the physical attacks. It's one of those things you have to deal with in these last days, man. And the gift destroyed the heart. So you also read the book of Jeremiah 30 and 7. It says, Alas, for that day is great. Alright, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Now that's what we're looking forward to. Deliverance, salvation from the hands of our enemies. That's what we've always been praying for, man. So that's about it for this lesson, man. The protests of the indigenous people over there is no joke. When you have all the different unions standing up against the government, they don't even have a seat in the so-called parliament. And you know how it is, man. They're gonna have to come to the table and do what they need to do, man, because our people are gonna fight. They're gonna fight. No matter how much, or whatever it takes. To preserve the little that they have. Shalom.